Senate should just proceed to the impeachment trial of President Trump, whether House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is ready or not. Hello, this is Robert Romano, Vice President of Public Policy with Americans for Limited Government, dailytorch.com. Hit the subscribe button. Today we're going to be talking about impeachment. Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah. Nancy Pelosi has a present for us too. She's basically had President Donald Trump impeached, and now she wants to hold up the impeachment trial. And she's going to pretend like President Trump hasn't been impeached because she's not going to notify the Senate that the impeachment has occurred. And so therefore the impeachment hasn't really happened until she communicates such to the Senate. And I don't think that's really what the Constitution had in mind with the limited impeachment provisions that you find in there. So we're going to dive into this a little bit and take a look at, does Nancy Pelosi have this heretofore unnoticed unconstitutional power to hold up an impeachment trial, even though the House has already voted on it? And that's for certain. On December 18th, they voted 230 to 197 and 229 to 198 on 2 articles of impeachment of President Donald Trump and supposed abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. Those aren't crimes under the federal criminal code, but they're going to impeach him nonetheless. It's not treason, it's not bribery, and it's not a crime, not a high crime, and not any crime that you can find under the federal criminal code. And so I think that it's probably likely to be shot down in the Senate on that basis alone. They're going to say, well, what's the crime here? Oh, there are no crimes. Okay, let's dismiss this case. This is all bogus. Now, the House Speaker of the House, a constitutional office under Article 1, cannot unilaterally defy the will of the House and prevent legislation from being submitted to the Senate after it's been duly passed by the House. So what makes her think that she can hold up an impeachment? It's a work of fiction. Nothing in the Constitution, nor House or Senate rules, grants such a power to the Speaker to sit on an impeachment, thereby preventing Senate action on such. And I think it only exists in the minds of liberal law professors, their imaginations. What if the House doesn't send the impeachment articles to the Senate? Idea championed by Harvard Law's Lawrence Tribe garners attention. And here's one. Trump isn't impeached until the House tells the Senate, by Noah Feldman. Now that the House has voted to impeach President Donald Trump, what is the constitutional status of the 2 articles of impeachment? Must they be transmitted to the Senate to trigger a trial, or could they be held back by the House until the Senate decides what the trial will look like, as House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has hinted? The Constitution doesn't say how fast articles must go to the Senate, et cetera, et cetera. So let's take a look at these provisions. You can look at House rules. Are very clear that the clerk of the House must certify the passage of legislation. These are the latest rules of the House. They were ratified on January 11, 2019. And what you find under Rule 2, Section 2, D1, the clerk shall certify the passage of all bills and joint resolutions. Similarly, the clerk under Rule 2, Section 2D2, shall examine all bills, amendments, and joint resolutions after passage by the House to see that they are correctly enrolled. However, the articles of impeachment are neither a bill nor a joint resolution. They're a simple resolution, one that's contained to the House itself. And according to congress.gov, a simple resolution is a matter concerning the rules, the operation, or the opinion of either house alone. Simple resolutions are considered only by the body in which they were introduced. Upon adoption, simple resolutions are attested to by the clerk of the House of Representatives or the Secretary of the Senate and are published in the Congressional Record. Nonetheless, the clerk of the House did certify passage of HRED 755 when it was posted at clerk.house.gov in the form of roll call 695 and 696 on December 18th, and we looked at that. Yeah, certainly the clerk has certified the passage of the articles of impeachment, and they've passed. President Trump is impeached on that basis. Now, looking at the constitutional provisions, there's nothing to suggest that the House has the power to tell the Senate when the trial is going to occur. All it says is that the House shall have the sole power of impeachment. And Article 1, Section, that was Article 1, Section 2, and Article 1, Section 3 states that, quote, the Senate shall have the sole power to trial impeachments. And then it further states that when sitting for that purpose, they shall be on oath or affirmation. When the President of the United States is tried, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court shall preside, and no person shall be convicted without the concurrence of 2/3 of the members present of the Senate. Judgment in cases of impeachment shall not extend further than to removal from office and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States, but the party convicted shall nevertheless be liable to and subject to indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment according to law. So pretty clearly, under the Constitution, once the House discharges its duty, the Senate has sole power to trial impeachments. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi doesn't have the power to tell the Senate when the trial will be. And there's nothing in there about transmitting anything to the Senate. They voted. I mean, they can just go download the articles online probably and print them up and say, let's get to the trial. All that is required for there to be a trial is for the House to have acted on to impeach an official, including the president. And semantics aside, that threshold has clearly been met. Now, under Senate rules of impeachment, these are standing rules revised pursuant to S.Res. 479-99-2, August 16, 1986. These are standing rules on impeachment. And what Rule 1 states is, whensoever the Senate shall receive from the House of Representatives that managers are appointed on their part to conduct an impeachment against any person and are directed to carry articles of impeachment to the Senate, the Secretary of the Senate shall immediately inform the House of Representatives that the Senate is ready to receive managers for the purpose of exhibiting such articles of impeachment agreeably to such notice. And so that, I think, is what they're basing their this theory that Nancy Pelosi can hold it up. Rule 2 states, quote, the articles shall be exhibited, and then the presiding officer of the Senate shall inform the managers that the Senate will take proper order on the subject of the impeachment, which due notice shall be given to the House of Representatives. So Pelosi's theory of holding up the trial, is, if there is one, is that under the aforementioned Senate rules, a Senate trial theoretically cannot begin until it receives the notice from the House that Trump has been impeached. This seems fallacious to me. Everyone knows that President Trump has been impeached. Nancy Pelosi doesn't need to write a note to the Senate saying Trump is impeached, and then only then can the trial begin. It's kind of silly. Like, Senate rules cannot confer powers upon the Speaker of the House that are extra constitutional. And in my opinion, this, what she's attempting to do here, saying that she can hold up the Senate trial when the House has already voted on impeachment, to hold up the Senate trial when the Senate, under Article 1, Section 3, has sole power to try all impeachments, it's a slam dunk. It's not even close. The Senate can start the trial whenever it wants. I don't think that there's anything barring it. Now, even if you thought that there was under these Senate rules, it did preclude the trial until this notice is being received. It doesn't, but let's just pretend that it does. The Senate could just override the rule in the same manner it has overridden a 60 vote requirement on reaching cloture for judicial branch and executive branch officials being confirmed by the Senate. So either way, the Senate can sidestep Nancy Pelosi's ploy simply by informing the House it is ready to receive the articles, or the Senate could just declare that it is proceeding to the trial. And you could just have a vote to do that. All right, let's get to the trial. Everyone vote. And then the Democrats will say, oh, well, we're not going to go to cloture on that. And then they can override the ruling and say, no, we're going to just override it with a simple majority. And that's the way the judicial appointments used to take 60 votes. Now it only takes a simple majority in the Senate. And so the Senate can change its own rules, and that's what Nancy Pelosi is depending on. She's depending on the idea that these Senate rules are set in stone and that she can kind of manipulate them and to have a trial at a time of her choosing. And that's really, I don't think what the framers intended with these impeachment provisions. The idea that the Speaker can hold the nation under the specter of impeachment for months or even years, like kind of like a sword of Damocles, I guess, right? Like, oh, President Trump, you better watch out. That impeachment trial could start any minute. You better behave. You better give us what we want. We're going to try to leverage you. And no, if you don't do what we say, or if you don't give us what we want, we're going to go to that trial. We're going to start that trial any day now. Now, this is just a delaying tactic, in my opinion, and I'll get you to close here because this is just silliness. I think the trial is going to start after the new year. Maybe she wanted to give members time to enjoy their vacations. And so this is just a kind of a all for show to say, oh yeah, we're really going to stick it to Trump. But in the meantime, they didn't want to start the impeachment trial until after the holidays. Or it could be Pelosi's intent to delay the trial indefinitely because the case is so weak and the prospects of conviction are so slim that they feel like they need to delay to gather more information, put together a better witness list or something like that. In any case, the tactic would appear to be allow more time for the Senate to basically create circumstances that are more beneficial for the trial, and certainly more time to apply pressure on weaker Republican senators. Suffice to say, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, he doesn't have to play along with this, and he would be unwise to do so. To create such an awful precedent, he should just proceed to the trial whether Pelosi is ready or not. The fact is, for better or for worse, the House has already voted to impeach President Trump. What's done is done. If the case is that weak, then movement for a swift dismissal should be a short order. Let's get this trial over with. That's the commentary. This is Robert Romano, Vice President of Public Policy with Americans for Limited Government, dailytorch.com. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and a Happy New Year. Take care.